The scene opens in Café Velour at 11:37 p.m. Junkie, a strikingly handsome young man with dirty blonde hair, is gripping his head in sheer anxiety. Junkie. I'm so nervous. Sitting across from him is his plain-looking, dark-haired friend, who is casually sipping an iced drink through a green straw. The friend sees right through Junkie's anxiety. He recognizes that Junkie is the kind of guy who is, literally a content just by breathing, and that any social interaction, it'll be over even if you just stay still. Junkie ruffles his hair in a panic, asking, seriously? How do I look? Am I okay? The friend internally rolls his eyes. Don't be so dramatic. Wow, this guy, he looks even more handsome with his hair ruffled. Why does he have so many worries? The friend assumes Junkie is just fishing for compliments. He knows that if a guy like Junkie says, I'm not that handsome, people will just line up to tell him exactly what makes him attractive. He determines his own role for the evening. I guess all I have to do is act like a clown and liven up the mood before I leave. Right on cue, the girl Junkie has been waiting for arrives at the table. It's Lee Jiwoo, a stunning girl with vibrant pink hair. Lee Jiwoo, your friend came too. Junkie, blushing, oh, you came. The friend is instantly stunned by her appearance. I couldn't believe it when Junkie said he liked someone, but I immediately understood. She's prettier than most idols. To survive being wedged between two incredibly attractive people, the friend deploys his go-to social defense mechanism, treating them exactly the same as everyone else, as if he doesn't even recognize their beauty. He politely bows over his drink. Oh, I've heard a lot about you. He reasons that by doing this, beautiful people will lower their guard, thinking he's ugly but has a good personality. Even so, he can feel the judging glares from the rest of the cafe. He imagines them thinking, what is that loser doing wedged between a handsome guy and a pretty girl? Instead of cowering, which would only attract pity, he decides to grit his teeth, play it cool, and ignore the stares. Jiwoo tries to break the ice with Junkie. Lee Jiwoo, do you like surfing? Junkie, yeah, how did you know? Lee Jiwoo, oh, well, your profile picture. When I was scrolling through your messenger profile pictures, I saw a photo of you surfing. Junkie, I've tried it a few times too. But I'm not that good at it, Seeing Junkie hesitate, the friend realizes it's his cue to chime in and liven things up. Hey, if you're not good at it, what does that make us who went with you? Lee Jiwoo, laughing, you went surfing with your friends? Friend, yeah, pretty much. We were on the level of walruses surrounding a surfer. Lee Jiwoo, what's that? The friend leans into the self-deprecation, choosing to be the first to belittle his own appearance so others can comfortably laugh along. Friend, no, we rented wetsuits to go surfing, right? He was the first to come out in one. He looked so cool, but when I put it on, I just looked like a walrus who had just come out of the water. You know what I mean, right? Jiwoo bursts out laughing. What? The entire table's mood brightens. By acting like he enjoys being the butt of the joke, the friend successfully projects a cool and fun image. Mission accomplished. He decides it's time to step back, stay on the sidelines, and give appropriate reactions, knowing that if he keeps pushing for laughs, he'll just look like an attention seeker who's overstepping his bounds. Internally, he drains his glass and thinks, I just want to go home already. At 11:41 p.m., the trio steps outside of Café Velour. Lee Jiwoo, which way are you guys going? Junkie, friend, I'm taking the subway. Get home safely. The friend splits from the group, leaving the two attractive leads together. Later, back at home in bed, the friend is staring blankly at his phone screen. At 11:42 p.m., a notification pops up. It's a direct message from Lee Jiwoo featuring her idol-like profile picture. Lee Jiwoo, did you get home safely? The friend thinks, what is this? Is he just managing his image because I look close with Junkie? He decides to match her polite energy and types out a text. Friend, yeah, you did too, right? Lee Jiwoo, yeah, today was fun lol. Lee Jiwoo, let's meet again, it feels like I didn't get to talk to you properly today. The friend is stunned. He looks at his phone and tells himself, I wasn't unable to do it, I just chose not to. He brushes it off as her being polite, assuming she just wants to get closer to Junkie through him. He tries to wrap up the conversation cleanly at 21:14, phone chat log time. Friend, is that so haha? Anyway, good night. Usually, sending a good night text signals the definitive end of a chat. But a second later, Jiwoo responds again. Lee Jiwoo, going to sleep right away. The friend sits up in the dark, his eyes wide in disbelief. Does she have something to say? Usually, when you say, good night, and even send an emoji, the conversation is over. Confused, he types back. Friend, why, do you have something to tell Junkie? Lee Jiwoo, no haha, I sent a message because I wanted to talk to you, though. By 11:43 p.m., the friend's mind is completely racing. He stares at the glowing screen in total shock. Why is she saying something like this? Does she want me to get my hopes up? If I do, then what's next? Even though you don't like me, you just think it's fun to create a situation where I like you. He bitterly asks himself, do you want to feel what it's like to be Esmeralda, receiving the devoted affection of an ugly Quasimodo? Pretty and handsome people don't know that my affection can make others feel uncomfortable. If I expect kindness, I'll only end up being miserable. He typed quickly. Oh, okay, haha, I have to go to sleep now, bye bye. Staring out into the darkness of his room with wide, anxious eyes, his internal thoughts reveal his desperation to shield his feelings. Before I become miserable, I need to run away. Next day, Lee Jiwoo, did you get to school? He thinks, she won't be sad if I don't reply, right? Since she probably has more than enough people to contact. She comes behind and they meet. The protagonist is walking down the school hallway when Lee Jiwoo approaches him from behind. As they meet, his internal monologue reveals deep insecurity and suspicion. Looking at her, he thinks to himself, she's cute, but the last time I saw her with Junkie, she wasn't greeting people so cheerfully. It must have been an act, right? She's probably appealing that side of himself to passersby. Lee Jiwoo confronts him directly, asking, why didn't you reply? Caught completely off guard, he stammers. What? Internally panicking because this is a situation that isn't in my data. Jiwoo presses further, pointing out, you just came out of the classroom looking at your phone. But why didn't you reply to my message? The protagonist's defensive mechanisms immediately kick in, assuming the worst of her intentions. He harshly judges her in his mind. What the? She's more malicious than I thought. A malicious person who enjoys seeing an ugly person be humiliated. Trying to shift the conversation, she asks, so, where are you going now? When he responds that he is going to eat at the student cafeteria, Jiwoo enthusiastically brightens up. Oh, really? Let's eat together. This makes him incredibly uncomfortable. He feels that if a pretty person like Jiwoo hangs out with an ugly person like him, it will only draw unwanted attention, thinking, you must know what people are whispering. To avoid her, he lies and claims, I have someone to eat with. Jiwoo looks skeptical and lets out a while. He wonders, really? Does she enjoy things like this, or? Suddenly, Jiwoo drops a truth bomb. Junkie told me that you eat alone on Mondays. Shocked at being caught in a lie, he freezes, thinking, what is this? What situation is this now? Before things can escalate, Seong Junkie arrives, tapping Jiwoo on the shoulder and asking, what are you doing, Lee Jiwoo? The protagonist feels intense pressure, noting that Junkie is glaring at me as if I'm hitting on Jiwoo. Jiwoo casually defends the interaction, stating, I'm talking to my friend. Junkie turns to her and asks, oh, really? Have you had lunch? Sensing his cue to leave, the protagonist bows out. Since the handsome prince has arrived, I'll be on my way now. Junkie swiftly dismisses him with a simple, yeah. Jiwoo bids him a reluctant farewell. Oh, okay, then let's eat together next time. Yeah, bye. As he walks away, the protagonist looks back in confusion, thinking, what? Meanwhile, Junkie tries to transition to lunch with Jiwoo, asking, so, who are you eating with? Can I join in too? As the protagonist reflects on the interaction, his deep-seated issues with self-worth come to the surface. He reasons that someone like Jiwoo has, probably not, ever been rejected when suggesting eating with someone. He reflects bitterly on his own position. When people like you are even a little bit kind, I unknowingly get my hopes up. But if an ugly person like me likes a pretty person, and other people find out, the situation will get even more terrible. So a person like me shouldn't get my hopes up or like someone, of course, I can't. It's something I shouldn't do. The timeline shifts to an English club meeting. Jiwoo addresses Junkie, asking, Junkie, were you in the English club too? Junkie, blushing slightly, answers, I joined this semester. A flashback reveals that the protagonist was actually the orchestrator behind this. Knowing Junkie's crush on Jiwoo, the protagonist had texted Junkie, you should join the English club. When Junkie replied, that super boring club. The protagonist sent the ultimate bait, Lee Jiwoo is joining this semester. This prompted Junkie to immediately sign up. Looking at the two of them, sitting together across the club table, the protagonist feels a sense of relief, thinking, yeah, this is so much better to see. This is the right picture. Everything falling into place is so comforting. To him, seeing the pretty people together brings a sense of predictable, safe order to his social world. After the club meeting concludes, Junkie tries to coordinate plans with Jiwoo. Loudly enough so she can hear, he announces, after the club meeting, I should go to a cafe and do some assignments. Recognizing the tactic, the protagonist decides to clear out and give them space. Okay, I should go to a PC cafe. To his absolute bewilderment, Jiwoo chimes in brightly, huh, me too. Junkie, assuming she is responding to him, suggests, there's a new cafe by the back gate. Should we go there? The protagonist starts planning his solo gaming session in his head, wondering, what should I do there? A ranked match, maybe I'll play that farming game I bought on Steam. In single-player mode, but Jiwoo completely bypasses Junkie and corrects the situation, looking directly at the protagonist. No. I meant I'm going to a PC cafe too. The protagonist freezes in utter disbelief as Jiwoo smiles warmly at him. The sequence ends with his bewildered, sweat-dropping realization. What is it with this girl? She wants to go to a PC cafe with me. Neural sits stiffly at a desk, his eyes darting towards Seong Junkie, who is sitting nearby. Junkie is smiling, but it looks incredibly strained. Neural. Junkie's expression, he's smiling, but it's not a real smile. It's an angry face. It must hurt his pride to feel like he's losing to a loser like me, but he can't show what he really thinks of me, so he's forcing himself to smile with everything he's got. Neural shifts his gaze to Lee Jiwoo, who leans back in her chair with a sly smirk. Neural. Whatever she's plotting, it feels like she's toying with two guys at once. Junkie. To Jiwoo, fishing for answers. You said you didn't know how to play any games. Jiwoo, resting her chin on her hand, smiling. Me. That's not true. Neural nervously clutches his backpack strap, breaking out into a cold sweat. Neural. If I play along and things get awkward between Junkie and me, I'll be the one left out in the cold. Trying to break the tension. So what are you going to do at the PC bang? Jiwoo, turning to Junkie. Me. Card racer. Then you two can play together. You play sometimes too. Defensive, looking away. What are you talking about? I don't play. Neural. Why is he pathetically going along with whatever Jiwoo wants? She's probably doing this to imply there's no need to be wary of a guy like you. What are two guys even doing, getting caught up over a pretty girl? Neural. Sighs, rubbing his neck. Do whatever you want, then. Int. PC bang gaming cafe later. The room is bathed in blue neon light. Neural and Jiwoo sit side by side in gaming chairs. Neural stares intently at his monitor. Jiwoo pouts angrily at hers. Jiwoo, hey. Are you mad? Neural, no. Jiwoo, tisk. Neural, was I too cold? No, come on. What did I even do to her? Not talking to her on the way to the PC bang. I've dealt with this kind of treatment my whole life, who's worrying about who? Jiwoo, cheering up instantly, turning to him. Let's play card racer. Neural, no, I'm doing my promotion match. Jiwoo, whining, pulling closer to him. Why didn't you hear what Junkie said earlier? Neural, Junkie, he didn't look happy earlier. But I'm safer for Jiwoo to be around compared to any other guy. Jiwoo aggressively nudges her elbow into Newell's arm, staring him down. Jiwoo, emphasizing every word, cart. Racer. Neural, sighs in defeat. Fine, but just one game. If I don't, she'll keep this up. I'll play exactly one round and be done with it. The words, Razy Racing Card Racer, flash on the screen. Cut to the end of the race. Newell's screen shows a dismal ranking. Jiwoo, leaning over, laughing at him. Seriously, you're really bad. Do you even like Card Racer? How are you dead last? Let's do one more round. Neural, smirking, rubbing his nose. No. Jiwoo, clasping her hands together like a begging anime cat. I'm just so salty about it. Neural, with skills like that, there's nothing to be salty about. Jiwoo, gritting her teeth, intensely hammering the keyboard. Damn, Neural, should I give her one more round, for now? Neural glances at her screen and freezes. Jiwoo's in-game avatar is aggressively T-boning another player. Neural, your skills are seriously, what the, you just rammed into someone else's cart. Jiwoo, with a dark, chaotic look in her eyes. Let's go down together. Neural, throwing his hands up. Wow, what a personality. You're a total nutcase. Jiwoo bursts into bright, genuine laughter. Ha ha ha. Neural catches himself letting out a soft chuckle. Streets near college, sunset. Neural walks alone down a brick-paved sidewalk under a warm orange sky. Neural, feels like we played Card Racer for 3 hours straight. Jiwoo's pretty, sure, but the way she acts is like some country bumpkin. No, that's not fair. Yeah, I guess it was. Neural stops in his tracks. Freeze, he looks down at his shoes. Neural, when was the last time I had this much fun? It's not like I usually have anything fun going on. I'm always on guard, always tense. I always have to think about how I look in other people's eyes. People like me never get to enjoy anything fully. He visualizes Jiwoo's laughing face. He grips his backpack strap tightly. Neural, I wonder what Jiwoo was feeling. She probably just had fun. She laughed it off and probably forgot all about it already. It feels like I'm the only one stuck on this. Buzz. Buzz. Newell's phone vibrates in his pocket. He pulls it out. The lock screen reads 1829. A text from Seong Junkie pops up. Junkie. Did you have fun? Junkie. I also remember Jiwoo saying she doesn't like games. Junkie. Could it be that Jiwoo? Junkie. Does she like you? Neural stares at the screen, his face darkening. Neural. He knows that's impossible. Is he doing this on purpose? To put me in my place. If I reply while being emotional, I might slip up. For now, I should just go home. Neural quickens his pace, stepping over a small ant on the pavement. Neural. In the past, when someone showed interest, I'd rationalize it and get closer. That odd sweetness of telling myself, we're just friends. But once I got drunk on that sweetness and let my feelings spill, it ended the way everyone expects. I won't fall for those breadcrumb temptations ever again. College lecture hall. Next day. The professor stands at the podium, packing up papers. Professor. That concludes today's lecture. Neural sits at his desk, staring blankly at his phone. Neural. Maybe Jiwoo. Ah, it's Hunsu. A text from Hunsu arrives. Hunsu. Cheongjuk at 7 tonight. You in? Neural types back instantly. Neural. Okay, Neural. Drinks are a must. Good for building an easygoing image. Buzz. A second notification banner slides down from the top of his screen. It's from Lee Jiwoo. Lee Jiwoo. You're coming to Cheongjuk tonight too, right? Hee. See you later. Neural stares at the screen, his eyes widening in pure shock as an image of a smiling, waving Jiwoo flashes in his mind. Neural. Out loud, completely bewildered. Neural. At drinking parties, everyone seems to be partying wildly, but actually there's invisible competition between tables. Han Neural walked through the bustling, dimly lit college bar, carrying his bag over his shoulder. He spotted his friend group, and Junkie smiled effortlessly, asking, "You're here?" Seeing how it's the same as usual, the PC bang incident with Jiwoo doesn't seem to bother them much. Girls are coming, Neural noted internally as a group of girls approached. Excuse me, it looks like your table isn't drinking much, so can we sit here? One of them asked. As expected, everyone's trying to get to Junkie's table. Wow, today, so many people really gathered. Neural squeezed past the crowd to sit down, but immediately realized he was trapped. Wait, this is a really hard spot to get to the bathroom from. It's like a fish farm, what the hell? Junkie, let's switch seats, Neural called out. Junkie just winked playfully, completely unbothered, and agreed, yeah, sure, okay. Bastard. It bothers me a bit, but, so anyway, let's focus on livening up the atmosphere for now. No, I really did that, Neural gestured wildly, making the table burst into polite laughter. So Han Neural. A loud voice suddenly cut through the ambient noise from across the room. Neural startled, asking, what? What is it? Jiwoo wants you to white knight for her. Neul's mind raced with sudden anxiety. Why is she doing this to me? Got it. Is she getting revenge because she felt ignored earlier? Rather than being called an ugly bastard, this situation is the absolute worst. White knight. Around him, the drunk crowd began chanting and jeering. Anyone want to white knight? Looking for a white knight. Well, look at that beta male bastard. A male peer mocked from the background, while another added, what a creative twist. Junkie threw an arm around Neul's shoulder, smiling, ah, I believed in you. As expected, my best friend. Hey, when did I ever say I did? Neural defensively laughed it off, but Junkie and the crowd drowned him out, shouting, don't you remember? Anyway, you did. Keep drinking. Neural looked down at his phone, peeking across the room toward Lee Jiwoo's section. Why is Jiwoo making that expression? With a face that looks really hurt. Jiwoo, did she drink a lot? Is the alcohol getting to her? She seems different than usual, pretty and cute. Hoping to give them both an escape, he typed out a text. Lee Jiwoo, let's go by together. He stared at the screen, wondering, am I sobering up or getting more drunk? Hey, what are you doing? Hunsu suddenly snapped him out of his thoughts, dragging him back down. Why are you staring at your phone when no one's going to contact you anyway? Tell us more funny stories. Right, this kind of treatment is normal for me. Forcing a smile back onto his face, Neural asked, where did we leave off in the story? Outside the bar, late at night, the cold air hit the dispersing crowd. Text notifications popped up on phone screens reading, everyone get home safely, as people called out, oh everyone be careful going home. Standing alone by the curb, Neural sighed to himself, I should catch a taxi too. Hey, why are you acting like this toward me? Who walked up behind him, her arms crossed and her eyes narrowed in frustration. Turning around, exhausted, Neural replied, acting like what? You probably really don't know why you're asking. She challenged. Neural looked at her, his mind walling itself off behind his usual defense mechanism. you'll never understand the kind of effort an ugly person makes to live while protecting their own heart. You'll never understand that. Still, I think I did pretty well today. I maintained the best image that an ugly guy. The chilly night air hangs heavy in a narrow brick alleyway. Neural, a college student wearing a simple blue t-shirt and carrying a backpack slung over his shoulder, stands frozen. Leaning casually against a concrete pillar beneath a dim street lamp is a girl with sharp, short dark hair, dressed in a black crop top, denim shorts, and an unbuttoned black shirt. Her gaze is piercing. She breaks the silence with a devastatingly direct question. You like Jiwoo, don't you? Newell's heart skips a beat. His mind starts racing, desperately trying to construct a defense. One of the truly foolish things is, even when the lie is already caught, denying it anyway. He knows he's cornered, yet his survival instincts kick in. But there are lies you must deny, even knowing they'll see through it, lies that must never be exposed. Trying to play dumb, Neural stammers, you mean, like, as a girl. The girl scoffs slightly, a knowing smirk playing on her lips. Yeah, as a girl. Neural panic calculates his next words. At times like this, if you act like you know nothing, and say something like, of course, she's just a good friend, it's obvious right away. At times like this, no, I have to fool even myself. He forces a casual, baffled smile. Why do you think that? Just, me, like Jiwoo. That makes no sense. Jiwoo fits better with Junkie. The girl looks at him, completely unfazed by his deflection. Really? The way you talk and act, that's how it looks, she counters smoothly. Neural tries to shrug it off, turning his head away to hide his rising anxiety. What made it look that way? Whatever. I'm not interested. Not interested, in Jiwoo. She presses, her fingers with deep blue nail polish tapping against her chin. Neural swallows hard. Words like that are bait. Spoken as if it's natural to like someone so pretty. He remembers how everyone views Jiwoo. She's that pretty, cute, kind, and has a good personality. It makes you think, so it's okay to like her. And gives you relief. Trying a different angle, Neural internalizes his thoughts and speaks aloud. Jiwoo, she is pretty. But thinking that way, it feels kind of like looking at a celebrity. I do think she's pretty, but I don't feel that kind of attraction. That doesn't mean I like her, right? The girl pauses, watching him closely before letting out a soft hum. Yeah. Say it that way, and they'll usually believe you. Neural freezes completely. A chill runs down his spine. Believe what? How much does On really know? Why go to such lengths to deny it? It's not like liking someone is a crime. Desperate to close the conversation, he adds, no, it's not that I'm denying it, I really don't like her, that's all. A taxi pulls up nearby, its headlights cutting through the darkness. The girl turns to leave, giving him a final wave. Get home safe. As Neural walks under the streetlights, his mind spirals into an anxious loop. What gave her the idea that I like Jiwoo? Was I too obvious? What would Jiwoo think if rumors spread? How should I respond? Why go to such lengths to deny it? It's not as if liking someone is a crime. Why wouldn't it be? Our values aren't equal. This feeling is always the problem. He tightly grips his backpack strap. Pretending not to like her while I do, there's a limit to that. So I must not truly like Jiwoo. The bright afternoon sun does little to ease Newell's internal conflict. He is sitting on the chair when Jiwoo approaches him. Hey, Junkie asked you to have lunch with him, Jiwoo says, looking up from her phone. Neural blinks. Junkie. Jiwoo nods. He says he's at the student center now. If you don't come, he'll eat alone, but if you do, he'll eat with you. Newell's eyes light up. Perfect. Inside, he is celebrating. I'll use this as an excuse to slip away naturally. He plays along smoothly, turning around to leave. That bastard Junkie really has no one but me. Guess I'd better go. Suddenly, a voice cuts through his escape plan. It's Lee Jiwoo. You haven't had lunch yet, right? Right. Then let's eat together, Jiwoo says, her eyes locked onto his. Neural stammers, pointing back toward the student center. But, Junkie. Jiwoo smiles mischievously, holding up her phone. Actually, the Junkie thing was a lie. He already ate earlier. She steps closer, tilting her head. You wouldn't choose to eat with Junkie over me, right? Newell's brain short-circuits. Why is Jiwoo acting like this? In this situation, how am I supposed to refuse? Before he can utter a single word of protest, Hansel leans in slightly, locking eyes with him, and delivers the final blow. Hey, you promised to eat with me. As she speaks, she playfully tilts her face and gives him a deliberate, unmistakable wink. Neural stands completely paralyzed, his face turning bright red as his inner thoughts scream in sheer panic. A heavy clatter of stainless steel chopsticks echoes against ceramic bowls. Hansel sits across from Neural. She takes a slow, methodical bite of her food. Her long hair frames a face that is effortlessly attractive, yet her expression is completely unreadable. Neural stares down at his soup bowl, sweating slightly. The air between them is suffocating. Hansel chewing casually. You pay. Neural blinks, his spoon hovering inches above his bowl. He looks up, his face twisted in a mixture of disbelief and quiet resentment. Neural, why should I? Hansel doesn't hesitate. She locks eyes with him, steady and deadpan. Hansel, I saved you, didn't I? Neural goes quiet. He looks away, gripping his spoon tighter. Neural, the more I talk to her, the more of a disadvantage I'll be at, so I should just drop it here. It's scary to have your feelings found out. Hansel leans back slightly, her sharp gaze cutting straight through his defensive walls. Hansel, what have you been talking about since last time? This pretty girl. Should I help you two get together? Newell's chest tightens. The words pierce his insecurities. In his mind, the reality around him shifts into a dark, distorted metaphor. He imagines himself stripped of his humanity, sitting under a harsh, isolating spotlight on an empty stage. Above him, a larger-than-life figure holds the strings. Neural, maybe she just needed some entertainment. For someone to put on a comedy so funny she'd howl with laughter. An ugly puppet. Back in reality, Neural stares at his bowl, his voice dropping into a low, defensive murmur. Neural, I'd rather you didn't. I don't really want to be a laughingstock. Hansel pauses, her chopsticks stopping in midair. Her expression softens, turning remarkably gentle, almost maternal. Hansel, I'm not trying to make you a laughingstock. Neural looks up, caught off guard by the sheer warmth in her eyes. He is paralyzed by it. Neural, her expression was so sincere, I almost believed her. It's dangerous to keep talking to her. Neural takes a deep breath, trying to regain some sense of control, forcing a self-deprecating smile. Neural, I don't want to make anyone feel bad, either. If I said I liked you, you'd feel bad too, right? Hansel, without a shred of hesitation. I wouldn't. Newell's eyes widen slightly. A flicker of hope sparks in his chest, only to be instantly crushed by his own cynicism. Neural, but you still wouldn't date me. Hansel looks down at her food, her tone flat and completely honest. Hansel, that's true. Neural lets out a hollow, bitter chuckle, sinking back into his chair. Neural, see. Hansel stops poking at her rice bowl. She looks up, her eyes flashing with a sudden, serious intensity. Hansel, but that's not because you're ugly. The words hang heavily in the air. Neural freezes, the raw truth of her statement cutting deeper than any insult ever could. Neural sits alone at a long desk, staring blankly at his laptop screen. The heavy silence of the restaurant still rings in his ears. Neural, why me? Why does this kind of thing keep happening? Is it because I'm ugly and stand out too much that I'm becoming a source of entertainment? Suddenly, a loud, cheerful voice shatters his spiral of self-hatred. Junkie slaps his hand down on the desk, leaning in with a wide grin. Junkie, Neural, what are you up to today? Let's go on a group date. 4-on-4. Sungji Women's University. Neural looks up, his eyes wide with a sudden, primal dread. Neural, a group date. Neural, a place premised on meeting as potential romantic partners, where you compete using your attractiveness as a weapon. There, the excuse of not being interested in someone romantically as a shield you can't use. Junkie watches Newell's panicked expression, totally oblivious. Junkie, whoa, damn, Sungji Women's University. Newell's mind races as he calculates the humiliation awaiting him. Neural, going to a battlefield without any weapons, I might just become a laughingstock, but... Neural, okay. If it's with girls from Sungji, I have to go. Junkie pumps his fist in victory. Neural turns back to his laptop, his inner thoughts turning incredibly calculated and dark. Neural, what if I play a completely different role? I knew it. Even the guys who suggested the group date don't see me as competition. It's probably an unspoken suggestion for me to come and be the clown. In that case, since I'm not going there to fight, I don't need to be scared, and I won't become a laughingstock. Neural nods to himself, closing his laptop with a definitive click. Neural, then let's pack up and leave together. Neural, of course, I could turn down the group date, but then I'd look like someone who's insecure about their appearance, and I absolutely hate the thought of becoming that kind of person. Neural walks alongside Junkie, preparing himself mentally for the upcoming battlefield. Suddenly, a sharp, confident voice cuts through the campus crowd. Hunsu, you don't want to go to the group date, do you? I'll treat you today. Neural and Junkie stop dead in their tracks. Hunsu stands there, looking entirely unfazed by the sudden tension. Before Junkie can even process what is happening, Hunsu steps forward, grabbing Neural firmly by the arm. Hunsu, oh, Hyunsu, sorry. Neural, decided to have a drink with me today. Junkie stands there, completely bewildered, stuttering over his words. Junkie, what are you doing? Hunsu doesn't give him a second glance. She pulls Neural away from the group with an iron grip. Hunsu, hurry up and let's get out of here. Neural stumbles along beside her, his mind completely blown by her sudden intervention. He looks at her profile as they walk briskly away from the lecture halls. Neural. But hey, how did you know? Hunsu. Know what, Neural? That I didn't want to go to the group date. Are you a psychic or was it that obvious? Anyway, you saved me. Thanks. Hunsu suddenly stops walking. She turns around to face him, her expression shifting from casual confidence to a sharp, challenging gaze. Hunsu. Running away, Neural. Hunsu. I'm asking if you're running away. You promised you'd have a drink with me. Neural stares at her face. The flawless skin, the perfect features, it completely derails his train of thought. Neural. A pretty woman has the ability to lower a man's intelligence. Just how far does the power of a pretty face go? Hunsu steps closer, closing the distance between them, invading his personal space with absolute confidence. Hunsu, you were going to hang out with a girl anyway. Am I in a bad mood right now? Should I be? I should be. And since I'm pretty too, it's not like you're losing out, so hang out with me. Neural stands completely frozen, utterly powerless against the sheer gravity of a beautiful girl dictating his every move. The atmosphere is heavy with the scent of old wood and vintage charm. Neural looks around the quiet, dimly lit room, taking in the faded floral patterns on the carpet and the solitary arrangement of the tables. Hansel. This is a place I come to often. Neil. You can tell it's a pretty old place just by looking, it must be a really good restaurant. Hansel. No, I come here often because it's empty. She doesn't hesitate, raising her hand slightly to catch the attention of the owner in the back. Hansel. Sir, can we have 2 jjajangmyeon, 1 tangsuyuk, and a bottle of jaleong liquor, please? Neural shifts slightly in his chair, studying her face as she closes the dark menu folder. Neural. You like places with no people. Hansel. Yeah, aren't you the same? Neural. Our situations are different. Quote. He pauses, looking down at his hands, feeling the familiar weight of self-consciousness creeping up his neck. Hansel. I'm bothered by people's stares. It always feels like they're staring at me. I can't know for sure, of course say, but that's just how it feels. Neural. I'm sure the reason is different, but that's exactly how I feel. Neural. So you don't like people staring even if you're pretty. And here I thought, being stared at for my looks would feel good. The green bottle of jaleong liquor arrives, and she immediately pours 2 small porcelain cups. Hansel. How about a toast? Cheers. She knocks back the strong liquor with a sharp, practiced tilt of her head. Neural watches her quietly. Neul's thoughts. When a pretty girl does it, even something simple looks pretty. Hansel. What, am I pretty? Being pretty is the best. Right. More than any other genius-level talent, being pretty is the best. Neural. Yeah, must be nice to be overflowing with talent. Hansel. Of course it's great. You don't even have to work to cultivate this talent. It's something you're given from birth. Neural pours himself another drink, the alcohol beginning to warm his chest. Neural. I've always thought so too. That handsome guys and I are born with different premises. The amount of love an ugly child and a pretty child receive is different from a very young age. He glances at her, expecting the usual pushback he gets from people when discussing appearance. Hansel. But when you talk about this stuff, pretty girls get this displeased look on their faces, saying things like they don't care about looks, or that connecting with someone's heart is more important than their face. He stares at her in mild fascination. Neul's thoughts, but for some reason, Hansel is spilling it all out themselves. Hansel. It's all bullshit. Complete and utter bullshit. Neural. Hey, are you drunk? Hansel. No, I'm right, aren't I? Some bastard road who says he loves his girlfriend for her personality. Would he still love his girlfriend if she got fat and broke out in acne? Hansel. No, he absolutely wouldn't. Neural. Hey, how come a pretty girl like you thinks the same way I do? Hansel. That's just how it is. Neural chuckles, leaning back. Neural. Why on earth did a girl like this act so quiet and like the coldest person on earth at school? If the other kids knew she had a great personality like this, she'd become popular in an instant. Hansel. So, let's be close friends. The words hang in the air between them, striking a bittersweet chord in Neul's chest. Neul's thoughts. If Hansel had some huge flaw, those words, let's be close friends, would have felt a little more comfortable. Hansel. I don't have any friends. Play with me a bit. Neul's thoughts. There's a gap between us as big as a huge flaw, and as long as that gap exists, I know you and I aren't on the same level, but even so, to the point of having such a wish, I couldn't help but want to be close with you too. The scene shifts to the harsh, bright lights of the school hallway. Junkie approaches Neural, his expression unreadable but his tone laced with a subtle edge. Junkie. You been busy lately? Neural. Same as always. Junkie. Jiwoo was saying you haven't been hanging out with her lately. That you say no even when she asks to get a meal. She said she felt hurt. Neural. Hurt, Neural. You should have asked her to eat with you then. Junkie. She eats with me often, too. Junkie. How did you get close with Hansel? Even I haven't been able to talk to her. Since you two look so close, I think Jiwoo is getting jealous. Newell's grip tightens on his strap. Newell's thoughts. What is he trying to say? What does he want me to do about it? If he likes her, he should be the one to hang out with her. Neural. It just happened that way. Junkie. So you're not avoiding Jiwoo on purpose, right? Usually, girls get interested when you do that. Like, who is this guy, avoiding me? Neural. Are you saying I avoided Jiwoo on purpose to get her attention? Junkie. Because guys will do anything to get a girl's attention, myself included. Neural feels a wave of exhaustion wash over him. Newell's thoughts. I don't want to play these unnecessary mind games with Junkie anymore. Neural. You're overthinking it. Junkie. You like Jiwoo that much. What are you talking about? Neil. Hey, okay. Then today, I'll ask Jiwoo out for dinner. Neil pulls out his phone, his thumbs flying across the screen as he types a message directly to Lee Jiwoo. Neil. Wanna grab a drink tonight? Neil turns his phone screen toward Neural, a smug smile forming on his lips. Neil. If there's some misunderstanding with Jiwoo, you guys can sort it out, and I can call you over midway, right? And then I'll find a good time to leave. Sound good, Jiwoo? What's the occasion? I'd love to. The warm, low lighting of a traditional restaurant hums with a quiet energy. A bottle of soju sits on the table alongside a large, shared platter of noodles and stir-fried vegetables. Neural sits stiffly across from Lee Jiwoo. Jiwoo has striking pink hair, framed beautifully against the rustic backdrop. Neural sits hunched over his plate, meticulously moving his chopsticks. He looks away, unable to maintain direct eye contact. Jiwoo, stammering, caught off guard. I thought you. Neural, leaning forward slightly. Yeah, that's what you said. I heard it from Jongi. Why would you think something so ridiculous? Newell's hands tense around his chopsticks. He stares down into his small bowl. Jiwoo, why is it ridiculous? Does it make any sense for an ugly guy to hate a pretty girl? Neural, you've never done anything to make me hate you. Jiwoo, softening her voice, looking askance. Right, but I'm a little clueless so, sometimes I do things that people hate without even realizing it. Neural watches her pour a subtle portion of noodles into her side dish. The gap between them feels massive, yet agonizingly close. Neural, I don't hate you. Jiwoo pauses, her eyes widening slightly as she looks up at him. Jiwoo, oh, really? Neural, yeah, Neural, internal. My heart is starting to physically ache. Until Jongi gets here, like a robot, I won't feel anything. His thoughts trace a dangerous line. Will I be able to push Jiwoo away? Jiwoo smiles, the brief tension evaporating instantly as she aggressively stuffs a large mouthful of noodles into her cheeks. Neural, trying to break his own thoughts. Hey, but don't you eat? Jiwoo, chewing happily, caught off guard. I hate carrots. Neural, anyway, it's all mixed in the sauce, so all you can taste is the sauce. She points her chopsticks at him playfully, her mood turning whimsical. Jiwoo, I want to date a guy who likes the food I hate, and in return, he'd hate the things I like. I hope he hates dry meat. 'Cause I love dry meat. Then when we order a whole chicken, we can both eat happily. She tilts her head, looking at him with genuine curiosity. Jiwoo, do you like dry meat? Neural freezes. His eyes widen. Neural, I do like it. Jiwoo, pouting, laughing it off. Really? Nah, you're lying. Neural, why would I lie about something like this? Neural, internal, my head feels like it's spinning. If I think of it as a meaningless comment, I can hear it as being meaningless, but I don't know. For some reason, sometimes. Jiwoo, it feels like you're lying. Neural, internal, every single thing Jiwoo says sounds so significant, connecting it to some kind of possibility, I can't stop. Jiwoo suddenly pulls out her phone, flipping through photos with an enthusiastic grin. Jiwoo, Neural, what's your ideal? Neural, blinking, my ideal type. Jiwoo, shoving her phone screen toward him. How about this girl? She's really funny, too. Should I introduce you to her? Newell's expression goes entirely blank. The warmth in his chest turns to ice. Neural, internal, I feel my whole body stiffen, starting from the back of my neck. Jiwoo, flipping to another photo. Or what about her? She's really great, too. Neural, internal, why does my heart sink like this? Jiwoo, smiling brightly, oblivious to his pain. These girls are really great, so I'm trying to introduce you, so you get how highly I think of you, right? So don't avoid me from now on, okay? Neural lowers his gaze. The illusion shatters completely. She isn't dropping hints, she is trying to set him up with someone else to bridge the awkward distance. Neural, with a hollow, forced whisper. I get it. Yeah. Neural, Internal. I was getting my hopes up. Sincerely. So. Desperately. Jiwoo. Blinking, noticing his sudden drop in energy. Neural. Internal. That Jiwoo might like me. Have I ever once wished for Jongyi and Jiwoo to get together? No, not for a single moment. Is this pathetic feeling just part of my nature? Even with a 0% chance of being loved, the moment I see a pretty girl, in the end, this desire to be loved, I'm so hideous that I can't approach you and can only run away, but, please love me. Even someone like me. Jiwoo, leaning in closer, her brow furrowing with genuine concern. Are you okay? You don't look so good. Neural. Internal. It's not that my expression is bad, it's just my face that's bad. You'd be shocked if you knew what I was just thinking. Because I was thinking that maybe, just maybe, you could like me. An agonizing silence stretches over the table. The vibrant atmosphere they shared just seconds ago evaporates entirely. Neural. Internal. Ah, the mood just suddenly dropped. Suddenly, Newell's phone vibrates, cutting through the heavy silence. He looks at the screen, his demeanor shifting to relief. Neural. Hold on a sec. Oh, Jongyi. Answering the call. What are you doing? Come out. My location is. Neural. Internal. Hurry up and make a troubled face, or a disgusted one. I guess I need to see that kind of expression. Otherwise, I can't seem to come back to my senses. The ambient hum of the restaurant does nothing to ease the growing tension at the table. Lee Jiwoo sits leaning her face against her hand, staring blankly down at her side dish. Her pink hair frames a face heavy with exhaustion. Across from her sits Jongyi, his brown hair neat, but his expression completely self-absorbed. Jiwoo's inner monologue drifts away from the restaurant noise. Guys in their early 20s are boring. Jongyi breaks the silence, entirely unaware of her boredom. He leans forward, a smug grin playing on his lips. Do you know what the professor said after seeing my report? He asks proudly. He praised it so much, oh, and among the freshman girls. Jiwoo doesn't answer, subtly turning her chopsticks over a small plate. She knows exactly where this is going. It seems like the only thing on their minds is bragging about themselves. Jongyi, there's a rumor going around that I'm handsome. Jongyi continues, resting his chin on his hand, looking out the window with faux modesty. I wonder why a rumor like that started. Jiwoo sighs mentally, poking at her food with her chopsticks. No matter what I say, he ultimately steers the conversation back to bragging about himself. Jiwoo's mind wanders to someone else. A vision of Neural appears in her thoughts, the main character of her current internal dilemma. He is plain, dotted with a few light freckles, but his smile is genuine and bright. Neural, on the other hand, being with Neural is comfortable and fun. He's not obsessed with bragging about himself like other guys, and the only time he ever puts anything down is when he's making fun of himself to make others laugh. A quiet clink of chopsticks snaps her back to reality. Jongyi is staring at her nearly untouched plate. Are you full? He asks. Huh. Jiwoo blinks. You're not eating much, Jongyi notes. Jiwoo forces a polite, dismissive excuse. It's probably because I ate a lot earlier. I don't really have an appetite. Jongyi looks down. Ah. Jiwoo's mind immediately compares him to her friend again. If this were Neural, he would have had a fun comeback. Trying to salvage the dead weight of the conversation, Jongyi tries a new topic. Have you seen Deadman 1? Yeah. I heard the sequel just came out, Jiwoo replies flatly. Jongyi's face lights up slightly, sensing an opportunity. Right. By any chance, this weekend, want to go see the sequel together? Okay, Jiwoo agrees, though her voice lacks any real excitement. Then, an idea hits her. Then, let's invite Neural, too. Jongyi's expression instantly drops. The light leaves his eyes. Ah, Neural, he mutters, looking away awkwardly. I think Neural said he was busy this weekend. Really? Then let's see it together when Neul's free, Jiwoo replies instantly, completely sidelining the one-on-one date. Jongyi glances down, his profile turning somber. You've really wanted to hang out with Neural since last time. Do you happen to like funny people? Yeah. Doesn't everyone? Jiwoo replies. Jongyi pauses, then shoots a piercing question. Then have you ever thought about wanting to date Neural? Jiwoo's eyes widen in genuine shock. Huh, with Neural, I've never even thought about it. Jongyi suddenly bursts into a nervous chuckle. Hey. Right, he adjusts his posture, trying to laugh it off. Ah, that was hilarious, sorry. Jiwoo's gaze hardens. The atmosphere turns freezing cold. What is? She asks. Huh, what's so hilarious that you have to apologize? Jiwoo demands, her voice dropping to a sharp tone. Inside, her irritation boils over. For some reason, I'm getting annoyed. Is it because being with Jongyi is so boring? I just want to go home already. She stands up abruptly, gathering her things. The scene cuts away from the restaurant. Neural is lying down, relaxing. It strikes me that this is nothing new. This isn't the first time. It's something I've experienced dozens of times, big and small. I don't want to be swayed again. When his cell phone vibrates, the screen lights up with a call from Park Hansel. He slides the screen to answer. Oh, Hansel, Neural greets smoothly. Hansel's loud voice booms through the speaker. Hey, your classes end early tomorrow, right? Wanna get wasted starting from noon? Neural chuckles, rolling over. Well, what do you say, or are you such a social butterfly you already have plans? Hansel teases. Ha. Right. A social butterfly, I guess I am, Neural jokes back, sitting up. Yeah, I have plans. Ah, why, hang out with me, Hansel whines. Neul's playful demeanor shifts into something slightly more sarcastic. Next time, please make a reservation well in advance. I can't miss a drinking party, after all. But Hansel's tone grows heavier, dripping with insecurity. If I were pushed from the center of the group to the fringes, you're the only friend I have. Neural listens, his brow furrowing as a familiar weight settles on his chest. I felt like no one would ever seek me out. Trying to deflect the sudden emotional intensity, Neural keeps his voice steady. Hey, if you want to make friends, just ask the others to hang out. I'm sure they'd all love to be your friend. It's because I click with you the most, Hansel insists over the line. Something clicks inside Neural, not a connection, but a spark of irritation. What am I doing right now? Neural thinks to himself, his grip tightening on the phone. He challenges Hansel openly. Click. Hey, you said it yourself. All that stuff about clicking being more important than looks is total bullshit. Hansel stammers on the other end, caught off guard. Hey, Neul's mind races with sudden guilt and confusion. Why am I getting angry at Hansel? What did Hansel even do wrong? All he did was ask me to go drinking tomorrow. Unable to take the conversation any further, Neural cuts him off abruptly. Hey, I'm sorry. I'll call you later. He presses the button, ending the call with a sharp clack. He drops his head into his hands, staring at the floor in absolute frustration. What are you even doing? The lecture hall was mostly empty, save for a few early arrivals. Neural sat a few rows back, his notebook already pulled out as he quietly turned the pages, completely absorbed in his own world. A few desks away sat Hansel, her sharp dark bob cut framing her face as she stared intently at her smartphone screen, completely detached from the quiet room around her. Neural, how could I look away there? I should have acted like nothing happened and greeted her. Hansel looked up from her screen, her expression guarded but calm. Why did you come so early? She asked, her voice cutting through the stillness. Neural caught his breath, trying to smooth over the awkwardness. I had some free time. He hesitated, shifting his weight before finally forcing the words out. Sorry about yesterday. Hansel blinked, looking back down at her screen with a detached air. About what? Oh, I didn't even remember, it's fine. She tapped carelessly at her phone. If I had to apologize for every little thing, I'd be dead busy. Neul's eyes narrowed slightly. You couldn't have not cared. He thought. Aloud, he murmured. But, did something happen? Hansel asked, not looking up. Neural looked down at his hands. Well, actually, it wasn't anything serious. My personality's a little twisted. Hansel paused, her dark eyes shifting toward Neural with a dry, knowing look. If your personality's twisted, what in the world is normal? Neural, oh, that's true. At least one part should be decent, whether it's on the inside or outside, right? A long, heavy silence stretched across the lecture hall before Hansel spoke again. I also wanted to ask you something. Neural looked up. What, Hansel, even if I were ugly, would you have wanted to be friends with me? Hansel asked, her eyes searching Neul's face with a sudden, raw vulnerability. Neul's hands clenched into tight fists against his knees. What should I say? Panic flared in his mind. The polite answer is already in my head, but, he looked at Hansel, refusing to hide behind a comfortable lie. Probably not, he exhaled, his shoulders dropping. Somehow, I want to be honest with Hansel. Neural, so that's what you were curious about. Even I wouldn't want to be friends with myself. He tilted his head. So why did you want to be friends with me? Hansel looked away, searching for the right words. I'm not exactly sure either. Maybe I wanted to prove that there's an exception. Neul's eyes softened, a quiet realization washing over him. Because I'm the same. Neural watched her, a deep ache settling behind his ribs. I can't fully understand what Hansel means. Hansel, I'm the same. Neural, internal, but I feel a pang somewhere in my chest. Why would she want to prove that exception to me? Why does it have to be me? Jiwoo comes into the lecture hall. Breaking the heavy spell between them, Jiwoo finally turned her attention toward them, who had been sitting quietly a few desks away. She asked, you came really early. Did you come together? Hansel replies, no, we met in the lecture hall. Jiwoo, I see. Jiwoo stared at his back, a cold knot forming in her stomach. Why does it feel so distant? Images of the past flashed through her mind. Neural. Last time when we drank, You clearly said you didn't dislike me. You weren't like this when we first met. Determined to break the icy wall, Jiwoo leaned across the aisle, forcing a bright, cheerful smile onto her face. Do you want to go see Deadman 2 with Junkie this weekend? Neural flinched, his hand freezing over his notebook. He didn't turn around. He swallowed hard, his voice tight. I'm seeing it with someone else. Jiwoo's smile faltered, her eyes widening. Someone else? Who? Before Neural could stammer out an excuse, Hansel stepped in smoothly from her desk. I was supposed to watch it with him. She began, speaking seamlessly for him. Jiwoo's breath hitched as she looked between them. What on earth? It's like she's trying to help Neural out of an awkward situation. A dark, venomous thought began to take root in Jiwoo's mind, twisting her expression into one of quiet resentment. Did Neural tell them that he dislikes me? Even though he knew me before Hansel. He knew me first. She gripped the edge of her desk, her inner pride flaring up against the sting of rejection. There were people who didn't like me, but in the end, everyone came to like me. That's great. Neural will be no different. Plastering her bright, untouchable smile back onto her face, Jiwoo leaned forward, her voice ringing out with forced cheerful stability. Then let's go see it together.